Hey there, Mom and Dad Are Fighting listeners. Before we start the show, I wanted to let you know about a story coming up a little later. It's from one of our partners, As Seen on EV. Did you know that most EV models can travel 200 miles on a fully charged battery, with some up to 500 miles when fully charged? You can charge them at home or at thousands of DC fast chargers nationwide. And how about this? EVs produce zero tailpipe emissions. Talk about living more sustainably. Head to seenonev.com to learn more and stick around to hear from people who love their EVs.
Welcome to Mom and Dad Are Fighting, Slate's parenting podcast for Thursday, April 6th, the Unappreciated Observations edition. I'm Jamilah Lemieux, a writer, contributor to Slate's Care and Feeding Parenting column, and mom to Naima, who is 10, and we live in Los Angeles.
I'm Zach Rosen. I host a different podcast. It's called The Best Advice Show, and I live in Detroit with my family. My oldest, Noah, is 5, and my youngest, Ami, is 2.
I'm Elizabeth Newcamp. I write the homeschool and family travel blog, Dutch Goose. I'm the mom of 3 littles, Henry, who's 10, Oliver, who's 8, and Teddy, who's 6. We live in Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Today on the show, we have a letter from an aunt whose nephew recently asked her why her belly is so big. The question was out of the blue, but part of a pattern of insensitive questions about other people's bodies. So we're going to talk about what to do when kids say things that stick with us. Then, if you're hanging around for Slate Plus, we're going to talk about kid photography, specifically those candid, humbling pictures they love to take of their parents. Here's a sneak peek of what you'll hear if you have Slate Plus.
And now it's captured. Is it flattering? No. Am I at all together? No.
My friend recently took it one step further, and she gave her kid her phone, and her 3-year-old used the video, and the video actually can kind of give you a real sense of what your world looks like to your kids. I've actually been meaning to do that. Here, Noah, go just capture the next 10 minutes and look at it a year from now. It would probably be pretty interesting.
I do wish that I had more pictures and video that Naima had captured herself, especially when she was younger. Not necessarily pictures of me, but just of, our lives and our experiences. Yeah. As a Slate Plus member, you will get a whole bonus segment from us each week, 0 ads on any Slate podcast, and you get unlimited access to the Slate website. Plus, it is truly the best way to support our show. So I hope you'll join if you can. You can sign up for Slate Plus now at slate.com/momanddadplus. All right, we're going to jump into triumphs and fails as soon as we get back from this short break.
This podcast is brought to you by Slate Studios and As Seen on EV. Electric vehicles offer so much more than a way to get you from point A to point B. Just ask any real EV owner.
The EV that I drive, I love the dependability and range.
The rebate, I got $7,500 back.
Since driving an EV, I've found that I've really looked forward to any reason for getting in my car.
A lot of friends have driven my car and loved how it drives. I think when you get into one and drive it, the ease and the fun, it speaks for itself, honestly.
I care about sustainability a lot, and it gives me peace of mind knowing that driving a car with zero tailpipe emissions means that I'm doing my own small part.
What I love about owning an EV is never having to go to a gas station. It's smooth and quiet.
I can charge my EV while continuing to live my life.
I actually feel good and happy when I get into my EV.
From SUVs to hatchbacks to trucks, there is an EV that's right for just about any lifestyle. Electric vehicles are worth watching, so head to seenonev.com to learn more. That's seenonev.com.
Macy's is making moves to bring more parks to more people across the country. Throughout April, join Macy's in celebrating Earth Month by supporting Trust for Public Land, whose mission is to transform empty schoolyards into vibrant parks that communities can use outside school hours. Just round up your next in-store purchase or donate online to Trust for Public Land. Shop sustainable products and learn more from clean beauty business owners at macys.com/purpose. All right, so Elizabeth, what have you been up to this week?
All right, so I was out last week traveling with the kids. We went to San Diego to cap off our homeschool ocean studies unit. We did some whale watching and tide pooling. It was really great. Jeff was traveling with the military, so it was me and the kids, and my parents met us. And I just feel like every time I travel with the kids, it's like this up and down, and particularly now, like, flights are so terrible. Like, I had 2 terrible flights. They're delayed, but they don't delay till you're standing at the gate. Just like all that stuff. I cried twice at the airport. I forgot my bag, like at security, like just total mess at the airport. But the trip itself was pretty great. The weather in San Diego has been kind of crazy, and I didn't entirely account for that. Like, I was gung-ho on doing all the ocean stuff. And so I booked Henry, Oliver, and I on this kayaking thing to go into the sea caves. And there's also this time of year baby leopard sharks that are there that we wanted to see, and these fish and stuff. It was super cool. But of course, like the morning we were supposed to go, there is like predicted like torrential rain. But I call the kayak place and they're like, we're going to go. And so I'm like, all right. You know, there's no bad weather, just bad clothing. We like get geared up. My parents were there, so they had taken Teddy because they wouldn't let Henry be in his own kayak. So we were in a triple kayak. We had Oliver in the middle. He didn't have a paddle. His whole job was like the GoPro. We're in rain jackets, rain pants, bathing suits. Like our life jackets are just like totally bundled up in these sea kayaks. The weather like sort of held off. We had these beautiful, the kids were happy to like paddle into the sea cave, which I was a little bit worried about because it's a heavy kayak with the 3 of us in it. And I really needed Henry to do a fair share of work. There was only one other like group that went out with us, which was like a teen or older daughter and her father. So we're like, you know, this mom and 2 kids. It was great. And then she's like, let's paddle out to the kelp forest, which is like a little bit further out. We get out there and the rain just starts coming down. And this dad is like, I want to go in. And she's like, okay, we're all going in. And the dad and daughter like take off. And I guess the guide figured that because he was like, I need to go in. I don't know if he was seasick or what was going on, but she like went with them. And she was like, just point towards the beach. I'll help you when you get there.
What do you mean point towards the beach?
Like we're in our sea kayak out in the kelp forest. We have to paddle back to the beach because like we launched from the beach. So she's like, just paddle that way. I'm going with them. Okay. But they're like twice as fast. So first of all, there's only 2 of them and there's 2, you know, the teen is like adult sized, right? Yeah. And can paddle. I have Henry, who is a wonderful kayaker, but is still, you know, 10 years old.
A wee lad.
And Oliver now, he like has the GoPro. He's shaking so much trying to hold this GoPro camera. He's like, I am so cold. Henry turns around and is like, Mom, Oliver's lips are blue. I'm like, okay, we're there's nothing we can do. We're like in the ocean. So we like paddle in. And I think sometimes when we're kayaking, I'm kind of harsh on Henry. Like I'll be like, the whole time we were in the sea cave, you know, I was like, okay, Henry, watch your paddle, like very nitpicking. You know, I need you to paddle forward. You have to listen like this. And I felt like I was going that way in this emergency. And I just thought, you know what? Like, like I just had to check myself and say, like, I'm letting my anxiety get to us here. And yes, this is like a very serious situation, but I'm not helping anything. Like I need him just to paddle. And the best way to do that. And as a result, he was like super excited. You know, he was like, oh yeah, Mom, I'm going to help you. You know, I'm like, big wave. And so he's like, Oliver's like screaming, lean back, you know. So we made it. We had a great time. We got some amazing video while we were out there. It was just a really great trip.
That's so hardcore.
It just feels really good when that voice comes on in your head. Like, don't be mean, be nice. You know, like, wow, you really can catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. It really works.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Zach, what about you? Triumph or fail this week?
I realized that I've had a string of triumphs, and I wanted to just preface it by saying, like, before I came on this show, I felt like, because of the age of my kids, it was like I had a newborn when I first came on, and Noah was still like 3. I felt like everything was... Not everything, but there were a lot of fails then. That was a particularly tough age for me. And I just want our listeners to know that it's not always triumphs for me. But this week there was another really beautiful triumph. On Fridays, some Jewish people observe Shabbat, and that's when you light candles, you sanctify the challah, the braided egg bread and grape juice, and you like have a great family meal. Sometimes you invite people over, and it's something that we like to do. We like to host Shabbat dinners. Last Friday was just the four of us, but I've just been noticing more and more that Noah really likes helping me in the kitchen, and she was just so excited to prepare dinner with me. Not only that, set the table and like put out the candles, and she was just like really excited, and I see her kind of stepping into being a great host, which is something that Shira and I both take a lot of pride in, something that both our moms and our dads take a lot of pride in as well. And so this idea of us handing that down to her is really exciting for me. But just like on a day-to-day, even since last Friday, she's just been like very eager. And you reminded me, Liz, with your story of like our kids just want to help. Like if we can actually, it's not like pretending that they're being helpful, like they're actually being helpful, and they know that if we make that clear to them, like I could really use your help doing this or this. And she's stepping up in such a sweet way, and like she's becoming my my little sous chef, and it's really, really great. I'm super excited about it.
That's so sweet.
It's so nice. And going back to you saying like there are times of failures and times of triumphs, I think the real triumph is feeling like this is something we're going to be able to do together for a long time.
Yeah, totally.
Very nice.
How about you, Jamilah?
Well, I have a happy update for last week's fail, in which we had not gotten Naima's birthday party invitations out.
Oh, right.
In ample time. The party went down this weekend. There were so many kids there.
Yay!
We had it at Sky Zone, which is like a trampoline place. We'd booked for up to 15 kids. And so I was just like, okay, as long as we get 10 kids, that's fine. 10 kids feels like a full party. Yeah. She won't be hurt. We must have had like 16 or 17 kids there. There were a couple siblings that came, but basically all but 2 kids who were invited showed up.
Yay.
So
did they all RSVP?
I think most of them RSVP. There were a couple of kids that I didn't recognize, and like her dad was like his name was on the flyer, but I texted some of the parents, so like it's possible that even though he and I were keeping a list, there may have been some that were just
okay.
Lost.
But for the most part, you kind of knew that you were going to be okay before.
I know that people RSVP and don't make it. So like,
okay, that's true.
There was a lot of RSVPs. Like I was inviting parents the day before. Like Naima, I'd gotten her to get a list of her friends' parents' phone numbers, so I could text them the invite. And she misplaced the list because I had her get it on Wednesday. And so she misplaced the list. So I wasn't able to send anything out on Thursday. And then on Friday, I find the list. I'm like, oh my God, it's like Friday morning. I'm texting these parents, like, so sorry for a late notice. And I was really surprised how many people came. Like the room was full when we did pizza. They ate all the pizza. Oh my God, I just knew I was going to have pizza left over for dinner. I was like excited about it. And the kids like tore that pizza up, and we had this huge cake, and most of the cake was gone. It was great. She had a nice time.
Yay!
She felt loved and celebrated. It went really well.
I'm so happy.
That's awesome.
Now you have a 10-year-old.
I have a 10-year-old. Their only downside was that at one point in the party, I guess while we were eating, the kids at Naima's table were complaining a little bit about how far the place was. And there's another one that's like closer to most of the families, but they were like completely booked. So it was, maybe a 45 to an hour drive for most people. And Naima started crying. She was like, I thought they would just be happy to be here with me on my birthday, and they're complaining. And I felt really bad about that. She's so sensitive, but I understood, where she was coming from. So they apologized, and it was fine, and we went on with the party. But other than that, a good time was had by all.
How dare you make me drive for free pizza and free fun?
I know.
That's chutzpah.
Yeah.
I get to complain how far the fun is.
Yeah.
And you live in LA. What do you expect, people?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, really, a couple of kids definitely made it on my least favorite list for that. Because I kind of overheard it, but I didn't realize like that it had been going on for a while, and it was really starting to bother her. But speaking of distance, Naima's bestie from back in New York came.
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
Was that a surprise?
I surprised Naima with it. She knew it was possible because her mother had mentioned, like, oh, it's spring break. We might be able to come out there, but I didn't confirm it for her. So I just let it be a surprise when she got there. And they ended up having a sleepover that night.
Aww.
Yeah, so that was really, really special. All right. Well, on that note, we're going to take another quick break. We'll see you back here for our listener question.
This episode is brought to you by KiwiCo. I love family game night. It is so fun to get the whole family together and have a chance to just sit down and do something together. No phones, not worrying about routines or what needs to happen. But honestly, sometimes it's hard to find like a game that we all want or to do things that everyone is engaged in. Well, KiwiCo is defining the future of play by making it engaging, enriching, and seriously fun. Henry just completed the coolest project. He made a mini vacuum cleaner. Like, it works not only to pick up crumbs from the dinner table, he's also used it to pick up perler beads from the ground and Legos. Like, it has these big sweepers. Plus, you guys, you don't have to go shopping for all the pieces. It's so great. It all arrives at your door, and then you can do your project as a family. Redefine learning with play. Explore hands-on projects that build creative confidence and problem-solving skills with KiwiCo. Get 50% off your first month plus free shipping on any crate line using the promo code Mom and Dad. That's 50% off your first month using the promo code Mom and Dad.
This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Most of you listening right now are probably multitasking. Yep. When you're listening, you're probably also driving, cleaning, exercising, or maybe even grocery shopping. But if you're not in some kind of moving vehicle, there's something you can be doing right now. Getting an auto quote from Progressive Insurance. It's easy, and you could save money by doing it right now from your phone. Drivers who save by switching to Progressive save nearly $700 on average, and auto customers qualify for an average of 7 discounts. Discounts for having multiple vehicles on your policy, being a homeowner, and more. So just like your favorite podcast, Progressive will be with you 24/7, 365 days a year, so you're protected no matter what. Multitask right now. Quote your car insurance at Progressive.com to join the over 29 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $698 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2021 and May 2022. Potential savings will vary. Discounts not available in all states and situations.
Hey everybody, it's Tim Heidecker. You know me, Tim and Eric, Bridesmaids, and Fantastic Four. I'd like to personally invite you to listen to Office Hours Live with me and my co-hosts, DJ Doug Pound.
Hello.
And Vic Berger.
Howdy.
Every week we bring you laughs, fun, games, and lots of other surprises. It's live. We take your Zoom calls.
Music.
We love having fun. Excuse me?
Songs. Vic said something.
Songs.
Music.
I like having fun. I like to laugh. I like to meet people who can make me laugh. Please subscribe now.
All right, let's hear today's listener question.
Dear Mom and Dad are fighting. I'm one of those listeners who doesn't have children of her own, but am a very active aunt, and I learn a lot from every episode about how to interact with and what to expect from my nieces and nephews at their various ages. I had an unexpectedly upsetting moment with one 6-year-old nephew, the son of a first cousin with whom I'm very close, that I haven't been able to let go of. About a week ago, when spending a Sunday with his family, the 6-year-old suddenly asked me, "Why is your belly so big?" I am not a thin person, and I do carry my weight around my midsection, but I hadn't thought of myself as fat in quite a while. But from the mouths of babes, no? His mother quickly said to him, "That isn't a nice thing to say," which only confirmed its accuracy to me, and I said nothing. I thought I would let it go. He's only 6 after all, but his comment has made me feel bad about myself this whole week. It's not completely out of character for him. He's the kid who's always pushing on adult stomachs or squeezing some loose underarm flab. He has been told many times to respect other people's bodies and not to touch them if they don't want to be touched like that. He'll stop in the moment, but do it again the next time. Is there anything I could have or should have said or done when he made the big belly comment? Is there any way to convey to a child when they say something hurtful, but the hurt is something too complicated for a child to understand, like body image issues? or a way for me as an adult to better process what he said. A loving but sad aunt.
What do you think, Elizabeth?
Okay, well, first of all, when I read this letter, I totally missed the 6-year-old part and thought, oh, the kid's 4, they don't understand, they're pointing out differences. No, a 6-year-old can definitely, 1, understand not to touch people, and 2, understand hurting feelings. I do want to say, this has happened to me. I feel like this is something children often say or do. Again, I think it's more common in younger children. It's okay to have those feelings, even if it was said by a child. And I think you should absolutely have a conversation with your nephew, if it happens again, about the touching and the pointing things out and saying, when this happens, it really hurts my feelings. I have found, particularly for Oliver, who sometimes I think had a harder time initially understanding what made people uncomfortable, that as the parent, I had to say not only that isn't a nice thing to say, but explaining after it happened, hey, that can hurt someone's feelings. I don't think your intent was to hurt someone's feelings, but in general, commenting on someone's body is just not something that we do. I think it's good at this point for a 6-year-old to hear a loving adult say that to them, because if it happens somewhere else, the response may not be so loving. So yes, maybe it feels awkward to do it, but I think you're totally within your right and almost helping them because you are a loving adult in this child's life. You are doing it not to shame them, but to help them learn this lesson about how we interact.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And 6 is plenty old also to actually start talking about issues of shame and, body positivity and these sorts of things. This kid is learning this from somewhere, and it's probably coming from the home. So definitely talking to their parent, somehow making our kids aware that everyone's body is different, and if someone has a bigger belly, it doesn't mean that they're less healthy than you. It's never too early to start having these conversations, and it seems like it's probably long overdue for this 6-year-old.
Yeah, I co-sign you both. I think I like the redirect of, instead say what you like about this person. What do you appreciate about having them around? What kind of nice comments can you make instead? But at 6, you're definitely old enough to understand hurting someone's feelings. And I think, generally the correction should happen in the moment. You don't have to wait for a parent's permission to address this. You can say, hey, we don't talk about body parts like that. We can tell someone they're handsome or beautiful or pretty, that we like them, that we appreciate them, but we don't talk about body parts in a good way or a bad way. Well, I guess we don't talk about body parts. I mean, it's not that many 6-year-olds are going to say, you've got beautiful eyes, but it's fine if you say you've got beautiful eyes. It's just not usually something that's going to be on their radar. But he definitely needs that point of correction. And as far as you processing what he said, he is old enough to understand hurt feelings, but he's not old enough, of course, to understand body issues or why someone would feel bad about having a big stomach. And so you just do your best to be kind and gentle to yourself when you hear a kid say something like that, and your stomach takes in food. It keeps you alive. It's part of you, whatever you need to say or do to try and find peace with the way you look. You're entitled to do that, but just know that this child didn't mean any offense or any harm by it and didn't have the wherewithal to understand that this was the sort of comment that could have some serious ramifications for you.
Yeah, I'm not even sure that the cousin, when they said that isn't a nice thing to say, was trying to confirm. I suspect that she was very embarrassed, and it's a way to try to just get your child to stop, right? So, I mean, I wouldn't take that as a confirmation. As Jamilah was just talking, though, I was thinking that another way to respond could be to say that affirmation out loud. This belly is what feeds me and has kept me alive and breaks down my food, saying some of those affirmations to them. So, I'm so thankful that I get to be in this body. Saying some of that may also help you in the moment. I know that that is something from one of the books that I used to help when Henry was going through like a lot more of the anger stuff and he would say hurtful things. One of the first things the book suggested was to like immediately kind of go into a space of your own and affirm yourself, to kind of stop your mind from being like, this child's opinion, is grounded in any sort of same reality as mine. And then from that calm state, being able to go back and address it. So there would be nothing harmful either with saying like, all bodies are different. And I am so thankful that I have this belly that helps me nourish my body and do all these wonderful things and get to come visit with you. That's another way to handle it.
Well, loving but sad aunt, thank you for writing in. Hopefully some of our advice helps. What about you out there listening? Has something similar happened to you? How did you address it? Well, we'd love to hear about it. Send us your advice and your thoughts. Write to us at momanddad@slate.com or leave us a voicemail at 646-357-9318. That's also where you can send any questions of your own. And that's it for our show. If you liked what you heard today, please subscribe to the show and give us a rating and review. Or better yet, tell a friend about us. That helps us expand our lovely little community. This episode of Mom and Dad Are Fighting is produced by Rosemary Belson and Maura Currie. Alicia Montgomery is VP of Slate Audio. For Zach Rosen and Elizabeth Newcamp, I'm Jamilah Lemieux. Thanks for listening.